Hey guys, Hens here. A bit of a different video. Today we are gonna react. Gamer Boy Ben made a video and talked about the influence of influencers or content creators on the game and what he dislikes about it. I found that very interesting, and I think I have some things to say about it as a response, so that's why I'm making this video. I think it's a very interesting topic where a lot of people have a little bit of misconceptions maybe, or don't fully think their thoughts through, so I think I can add some on the topic.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm doing a different type of video today, more of a rant tangent type of thing, discussion if you will. So I've been seeing a lot of videos pop up recently about how broken or overpowered Thrill of the Hunt is, yet I haven't seen much talk of Shoulder the Burden. Like,
one thing that has to be said, in the thumbnail of this video is my thumbnail from the second channel where I made a Thrill of the Hunt video where I played and like showed 46 seconds for a cleanse. If you have Calm Spirit, it's over a minute to cleanse a totem.
At all, which I find very funny considering this perk can literally prevent a death from happening. And I find that much more broken and problematic than anything. Like, don't get me wrong, Thrill of the Hunt is a pretty solid perk now, but are you forgetting what happens to hexes usually? They last like maybe 2 or 3 minutes before they're just gone, and then poof, done. That's it. There goes your perk slot you just brought in, by the way. Because, you know, that just makes sense.
All right, I think one of the problems with hexes is they don't feel as good to play as stuff like maybe pop, right? That's a good example because they can be gone very fast, and stuff like ruin, you don't really see the value of the perk. So I think that's why they generally don't feel that good to play. I don't think Thrill of the Hunt is a very healthy perk, I'll be honest. Maybe if the totem progress would decay instead of instantly being gone, but the perk is highly cheesable with stuff of Face of the Darkness. There are many ways you can make Survivor Scream, which interrupts their totem cleanse, and at that point they have to start brand new, and it takes 46 seconds again. That is just an unhealthy perk, and it's super annoying to play against. I think there are strong countermeasures. You can run totem builds right now, but if you don't have one like that, then you can easily run into a scenario where it's so frustrating and you just cannot get the totem cleanse because you scream every 25 seconds because of Face the Darkness, for example.
This buff just makes it to where your hexes can actually get a bit more value as opposed to just being gone within minutes. This is usually the thing that bugs me, and if it's like we finally have a different like shake-up in the meta or something newer for killers, it just gets gutted because a lot of players say, oh, it's too strong, and it's just like, why?
I think the problem is that how highly cheesable it is. I think also made a video on it where you have like singularity because the EMPs reset faster than you cleanse a hex totem, which means you cannot possibly cleanse it because the biopod will reset and you have no chance to cleanse it by yourself. These kind of scenarios, if like the normal killer who doesn't cheese everything plays it, then yeah, that's a different story. But like you could circumvent that by making hex totems progress decay. That would be one thing that could maybe be considered, but overall it is just too annoying to play against. I think it's not necessarily about the strength, it's just the edge case scenarios are insane.
Well, like why though? Like it's just very apparent. Like I've seen the same thing with Xenomorph and like Ultimate Weapon. Oh, it's too broken, it's too powerful. I'm like, but it's a new perk. It's not a part of the meta.
I don't know what Xenomorph, maybe the tail cooldown, that was pretty broken, I won't lie. Like, I'm guilty for that. I think sometimes the tail would bug out and you would have like half the cooldown and the survivor wouldn't make any distance. I think it was pretty broken. I don't think he got any other changes as far as I'm aware, but yeah, that was pretty stupid. And Ultimate Weapon, yeah, I think that was part of the meta, to be honest. That was a huge perk and kind of invalidated the entire info perk. The entire genre of info perks. Why would you use anything? You can just throw an Ultimate Weapon. Like there's no reason to use anything else. So it kind of like power corrupt every single other perk. Why would anyone run lethal and barbecue if you have Ultimate Weapon?
It's not gen defense. It just gives you info so you can go to chases more.
Yeah, well, but there are the info perks. Like I love using info perks. You have one in your build right now, which is Discordance, which you chose because it's like good, right? So it's like you can't make everything as strong as you want just because it's not gen regression. This is not how it works.
Like that's what it did. So that's now just nerfed to the ground to where no one uses it. There we go. And then we've
honestly a bit sad. I kind of dislike that, to be honest, because it got nerfed to such a degree where using it is just like, why? You have Darkness Revealed, you have other perks. Why in the world would you ever use Ultimate Weapon? Which is, yeah, that's sad. I absolutely agree with that.
Happen, which I admit, pretty strong combo, but it still moves away from gen defense. It's different. But it's just, I don't know.
Wait, what are you talking about?
It's still... So that's now just nerfed to the ground to where no one uses it. There we go. And then Weave of Attunement happened, which I admit, pretty strong combo, but it still moves away from gen defense. It's different. But it's just, I don't know. It's very annoying.
Actually, to be honest, Weave, I don't think was that strong. The perk in itself worked off basic attack, which means the strongest killers don't have the crazy value for it, which I kind of really appreciated. The problem with that combo, I think, was that the majority of survivors did not understand that they were revealed. If they don't know what the perk does, then the perk icon in the bottom right will not tell them what is happening. They don't know that they're revealed. And on top of that, the item that revealed them was not shown to them, which is a massive problem because in a 60-meter radius, finding a key somewhere in the grass is literally impossible. That is unreasonable. So showing the item was massive, and I think that should have been done. I don't know if the aura range nerf had to be done. I'm not sure. I would not consider Weave meta, to be honest, but it was a massive, massive noob stomper because you would win games against clueless survivors so hard because you could see them 24/7. If they don't know what's going on, they will definitely lose. But at the same time, if survivors just bring their items to the edge of the map, well, then you're down 2 perk slots and you have no value. So yeah, relatively easy counter, but a massive noob stomper.
Like doing that. It just seems like people just want to go against gen defense only.
Why is it teleport?
Like, I'm serious, man. It's like nobody just wants to have variety in the game anymore and just overreacts or overstates something on how bust.
No, I think variety at all costs is a bad idea. Variety is good and it needs to happen. And I think there are some points to be made about bringing these perk archetypes a bit closer together. But yeah, it's going to be hard to ever match gen slowdown. Same because it's just counters the objective of the other side. At the same time, anti-tunnel is always going to be the meta on survivor side because it's the best to slow down the enemy's objective.
Something is mainly content creators responsible for this, but it still just annoys the hell out of me because it just creates this echo chamber from their fans to get it pushed to being nerfed. I know people are going to say, well, influencers don't affect the devs' decisions, you're overreacting. Shoulder the burden is literally Oddstarva's idea that came to the game.
All right, let me go back a bit. So influencers obviously influence. That's literally what they do, right? You are making this video right now. That's what you're doing. You're making a discussion video. You're voicing your opinion. That's how it is. That works for smaller creators and bigger creators, right? And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to voice my opinion. That's what I do. That's what influencers do, right? It's literally in the word we're going to influence. Okay, sorry, I'm going to go back a little bit.
To get it pushed to being nerfed. I know people are going to say, well, influencers don't affect the devs' decisions. You're over.
I mean, it's I understand. If people have different opinions and they think that what I think or say is wrong and you disagree with that, that's okay. We're never going to agree on everything. Surely we're going to disagree on something or the majority, depending on what the viewpoints are. And I disagree with him. And we're all passionate about the game. And that's how it works, right? We all have our opinions. We want our stuff to be done. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But yeah, obviously influencers influence, but also the community has their own opinion. Just because Odds says something doesn't mean that the opinion was not already there in the head. So I think he gets too much blame on that regard, honestly. Whenever he says anything, it's always his influence and yeah, no, I think it's a little bit ridiculous.
Overreacting. Shoulder the burden is literally Oddstarva's idea that came to the game. Given it's not exactly how he wanted it, as he wanted it base kit, but the end function of it is pretty much the same as it was just meant to trade hook states, which is what it does, which is huge, very huge, and detrimental to the game.
True, for the killer player. That's I agree with that. So one thing about the development of DBD that you might not know, so stuff is designed very early on in the creation progress, right? So I can guarantee you that perk was made long before Odds made that video. So Odds made the video 1.5 months ago, right? So generally, the design process for things is like literally chapters ahead. So by the time Odds made that video, the design for perks will be done, because that was like, he did that like not that pretty close to the PDB, I think. And yeah, this is not how the process works. And I guarantee you that that was already done by that point. Odds and the designer who did this just shared a brain cell in that moment. And I think the perk idea is pretty, I would say, generic, right? Like, surely so many people have suggested this, or like something a little bit close to this, as a way to like counter tunneling effectively, right? That's just a very generic idea. And yeah, Odds wanted this as a base kit mechanic. Now it is a perk. It works a bit differently, but yeah, it transfers hook stages. But this is a good example of where content creators or influencers get blamed for absolutely nothing, for things that they don't have influence over. And that includes this.
Like, it is,
because by the time Odds made that video, which is very recent, no, that's too late. If it was one chapter later, then maybe, but no.
like, not an understatement in that, like, at all.
Yeah, it's very influential. That's true. But
influencers do have an effect towards Dead by Daylight, and I'm kind of tired of pretending like it's
no. You're wrong on this. Guaranteed, you're wrong on this. Please take my word for it.
not, considering some of those creators are consultants. It's just really odd or weird to me how a lot of people are just stating how throw the Han is problematic, get into them address, shoulder the burden, like, at all. It just comes up.
Okay, I'm the only consultant which video was in the thumbnail was also a content creator. So I don't know if he's addressing me directly, because yeah, Odds and Rapid Main are not consultants. But I've talked about shoulder the burden. I made a video on my main channel. I think that perk is problematic. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, for the average user, it's okay. If you have like 4 people with thousands of hours, then it becomes like ridiculously OP. I don't know. That's just a design problem, right?
Stuff is odd and disingenuous to me. I've also noticed how killer players have just been having to deal with so much shit. Like, just these past 2 years alone. Like, here we go. Let's list off. 1, base kit BT. Survivors just get a like free perk, just because why not? You know. Base kit anti.
No, that's a good reason for this, because like if your teammate didn't have ball time at that point, that's why it's called base kit BT. You literally could not play the game, because killers would just be literally right next to the hook, and if you didn't have DS, your teammate didn't have BT, which is pretty common, especially in low MMR. Well, then you can just hit the guy, like you just hit him straight. And it's like, especially in solo queue, relying on your teammate having one specific perk is just pretty damn stupid and ineffective, especially in solo queue. So yeah, that really didn't work out. I think base kit BT is a massive win for the game. And yeah, I don't think anyone, like, hard to argue against that. I'm sorry, but like, base kit BT gives survivors a little bit of a leeway. And if you don't have 1 out of 2 perks, well, then you're just screwed, right? So yeah.
I camp. So the survivor can just unhook themselves, basically like Deliverance, if the killer's
You just said anti-camp, yeah.
hovering around there.
Not a
Gen
big fan.
regression limit. You can only tap the gen 8 times. You can only tap it 8 times. And this was brought into the game because of problematic killers like Skull Merchant. And maybe Singularity, like a bit, but mainly Skull Merchant.
No, you understood it in this, but not on the Thrill. That's a bit sad. Because it's like, it's kind of like the same problem, right? Like, the edge cases are really the problem, not the generic thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Gen regression limit, it's kind of annoying with this stuff like Jolt and Eruption, because you can't get the max value, but maxing out a gen is pretty damn difficult. I think I had it happen like maybe like 3 or 4 times in the last year out of memory, so it really doesn't happen. Anti-camp, I am not a big fan of anti-camp at all. I think it's horrible. I don't like anti-camp at all. I think it's artificial and it doesn't even stop camping, so yeah, not a big fan of that.
Merchant was the case for that.
But it's like, I feel like there's some stuff missing in this list, right? Like, it's a bit one-sided.
So because of a couple killers, everyone gets to suffer because of that. I'm like, what? Why though? Why?
Yeah, because you answered your own question, right? Yeah.
And that they also gave survivors a HUD. It's helpful, don't get me wrong, like it gives solo queue helpful plans, but nonetheless, this is still a buff to survivor.
Okay, you acknowledge yourself, it's really helpful. Yeah, it is incredibly helpful and massive massive for solo queue. Really good thing. I think the solo queue buffs should go even further, in my opinion. But
like
yeah,
that's what killers have been having to deal with these past 2 years. Like all that.
I mean, okay, bro. Like you missed like half the things that happened.
It's just wild, man.
Okay.
But there's just been so many things lately, like going against killer players that are just going to give new players who want to try killer and not even want to try because of how much of a headache it is to deal with. Like, can we have a little like killer HUD for killers? That would be nice to see how many hook states
I agree.
like we have towards the survivors.
Honestly, I think killer is a massive overstimulation. I absolutely agree. Having a killer HUD for hook stages, I think at this point should be reconsidered, because shoulder the burden kind of makes it really, really fair. And that one thing on the hook stage, I don't know. Like, it also doesn't show who the hook stage is taken away from. It only shows who got the extra hook stage. I'm not a big fan at all. Like, at this point, it gets so complicated. You might as well just show the hook stages, especially because if people want to tunnel, trust me, the people who sweat and want to remember who to tunnel, they will remember. That is not a measurement. Like, I don't think it's gonna increase tunneling as much as people would think.
That'd be pretty nice and cool for beginner killers, like, mainly.
Also, like the entire concept of like confusing people into not doing the right thing by like refusing to give them info. I don't know, bro. Like, that seems a bit iffy to me. So yeah, I'm actually in favor of that at this point, especially with shoulder the burden. Even before that, I think, I don't know, it seems a bit iffy to show survivors the hook stages and not the killer.
Mainly beginner killers. I know people who are already like experienced in the game, like understand the hook states and everything like that. But in terms of like newer players, being a new killer is like stressful as hell, man. Like, it is just so overwhelming. Like, you start off with basically no perks most of the time, and you're trying to learn the game, and then it's just like a whole stressful mess to deal with. But for experienced killers, they don't have to deal with that too much. But I'd say, like, can killers get a HUD finally to keep track of hooks?
I absolutely agree. Playing killer, especially if you're new, is a massive overstimulation, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. And I think that could help with it. Yeah, I agree.
Give newer killer players like something. I don't know. I'm just tired of like seeing this narrative throw the hunt OP nerf it now when it barely just came out, and it's actually giving Hex's time to shine. Let's actually have some variety in the game and let.
No, I honestly, I think Pentimento is still for the normal user. Penti is better than Thrill, unless you want to abuse the edge cases where you make the survivor scream and you interrupt them. Penti is just the better perk. I think hexes are shining right now, and people are massively sleeping on that. And it's like, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I would honestly try Ruin Undying Penti, especially on stuff like Nemesis. I think is pretty damn insane. And I think Penti is definitely as a park also a bit problematic. But yeah, I think as it stands right now, Penti is the main thing that makes Totem shine. It is not actually Thrill of the Hunt.
Let people try new things and shake up the meta and have a good time doing so.
I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry. It just worries me with how the direction of the game will be going, and I don't like or feel how some content creators can just get things nerfed. I just look the other way when it comes to something clearly strong and problematic, and then go after something that's decent for killer players.
Yeah, I would honestly suspect that your algorithm shows you killer content and not survivor content. I made a video on Shoulder the Burden. You might have not seen it because it's survivor content. You've seen the Thrill video though, because it's killer content. So I think there's like a personal bias there, maybe. But yeah, I think I think content creators actually get, like, it's kind of weird. Like, there's a lot of blame going around. If like Thrill, for example, gets buffed, there are people who are like, wow, Hens, how can you make a video on this? This is just way too strong. And then, I mean, it's like, curious, I didn't show like the screaming, like the really, really cheesy stuff where you interrupt the survivors. I don't think it breaks the game. I don't think it's that strong. It's just frustrating to go against. And on the other side, there are people who are like, wow, you don't talk about other things enough. And it's kind of interesting to see. And I just wanted to give my perspective on this. I think the way it's done, right?
Yeah. Anyways, that'll be it for this tangent I've had.
Yeah, a little bit of a react, a little bit of a different video. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the influence on Dead by Daylight? Do we talk too much? Do we talk too little? Let me know. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.